So this is my reading, one of my readings for my launch night. And in this, Cara is about to leave to go back to Avondale. And this is where Sonley comes to say goodbye. Sonley stirred around the hangar, her stomach jumping, partly with dread, partly anticipation. She'd grown up on a rebel base, she'd done her own basic training, and the familiar sound of soldiers calling to one another, of ships being tested and readied, brought her childhood back to her. The hangar smelt of diesel and gas, adding to the familiarity. She wished she could take one of the ships and get away from the news hollows. Kerr stepped out from behind one of the Roma ships. He hadn't seen her yet. She watched him move, slim and composed, saw how his eyes missed nothing about the preparations around him, and the feeling of déjà vu to the days of the band was complete. The moment passed. When he had commanded the band, he had had dark hair, not white. He hadn't worn the collar of his fatigues turned up. When he stopped to check one of the ships, he gave a slight winch as he ran his hand along its flank, a winch that would never have been there before a Mendigan. She wanted to tell him not to go, to stay, but forced herself to stand her ground. He needed peace, and he'd never have it while his mother was alive. He turned, saw her, and a smile made him look younger, more like the Kerr she remembered. He walked towards her, and she took in his fatigues right down to the sand boots he was wearing. Things were serious. He stopped in front of her. "How long until you go?" she asked, her voice hoarse. "We embark in a few moments." Kerry came to say goodbye, and the boy, he passed briefly. "Licio?" We spoke. He'd tell her nothing more. "You'll be careful." "I'll try." There was an awkward silence until he cracked his fingers together and gave a small shrug. "It's always the worst part, the waiting." Yes. He had no idea how hard it was to wait. She had spent months not knowing if he was alive or dead or worse. Nights alone, trying to sleep, only to lie awake with despair circling even as she gritted her teeth and waited some more. "I hate waiting." "Come here." He put his arms around her, not seeming to care who was watching. He had never cared how a soldier should behave. He'd only worried about doing what was right. The ever-present smell of coffee that carried him through each day, practically on a drip, surrounded her. She leaned into him, felt the strength in his arms, the tightness of his chest. He was doing a good job of hiding his fear, but snuggled against him, there was no mistaking it. They stood, his head leaned on hers against his chest. Soldiers shouted, a ship's siren sounded, but it happened outside their bubble. Finally he released her, only to kiss her, a long kiss, one to last an age, maybe forever. Her lips opened onto his, so familiar. She put her arms around him, wanting to be closer, but it wasn't possible. Someone shouted his name. He pulled away. A mew escaped her. "Go," he said. His eyes were shining in the bright lights of the hangar. "Don't look back, just go, or I can't." He had made her leave the night at the band too, the night she had lost him. She turned, blinded by blurred tears, and stumbled as she walked away. She had to let him go, so he had come back. "Please," she thought, putting all her might into it, "make sure he does. I need him to. I love him." That's it.